Welcome back to the Ride Laugh Podcast. If you love mountain biking, you are in the right place. Picture your last really fun group ride. You're back at the parking lot. The stoke is high. Everyone's talking about the ride, bikes, tech, nutrition, berms, jumps, drops. That's what we do here every week on the Ride Laugh Podcast. You love bikes. We love bikes. Let's drop in. Sage, we got something special today.
Ooh, Danny, I can't wait, dude. Let's get into this.
Today, everybody, we have special guest. He is the founder of Mountain Bike Academy, creator of one of mountain biking's top coaching channels, and the guy helping riders smash through progression plateaus, the mountain bike skills booster, mobility maestro, athlete accelerator, and scholar of shred, Dave Davidson. Welcome to the pod.
Yes.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on, Dan and Sage. I'm excited. This is the first time I've been invited on a podcast, so much gratitude for having a listen, and I'm looking forward to a great conversation.
Well, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna be talking about bikes. I am a huge fan. You have a mountain bike channel. You also have a program that you offer to really accelerate athletes and mountain bikers in particular. We're going to talk about those things.
Yeah.
I've been a fan of your YouTube channel for how long have you been doing it? Because I feel like I've been watching it for a few years.
I think it's been about 3 years.
Well, I think it's really, really good content. You always leave the viewer with something that they can apply or try or test or get better at. A lot of really, really good insight. So Ride Laugh 1 at Gmail and YouTube comments, anything that we're talking about today, or if you want to get in touch with Dave, and definitely check out his channel. So let's get into it. Dave, you're in South Carolina. How often as a busy, you're a dad, you're married, you're running your business, how often are you actually getting out for rides?
This month, not very much. We're working on some big projects. So the thing that I always like to tell people is I've just been obsessed with mountain biking, but also I'm a problem solver. I went to college to study engineering, went to Clemson University. And
no kidding.
So my favorite book growing up was this book by, I think it was like Dave McCauley or something like that. And it's called The Way Things Work. And I read that book 4,000 times. It's got those blowout diagrams of how everything works, from helicopters to cars to the human body. And ever since I've been a little kid, I've always been obsessed with solving problems. The problem was that when I got into mountain biking, I was like, this is awesome. And my very first move was going straight over the bars onto my shoulder, and I broke my collarbone. And so my first big send was straight into the hospital.
Wow.
With a broken collarbone. And from then I was just absolutely hooked. I was like, dude, I got to do this. And what's really cool is when I meet other riders from all over the world, everyone's the same way. They're like, oh yeah, I smashed my collarbone in half. And here I am 35 years later, still trying to improve my skills and enjoying it. There's so much to enjoy about bikes. So yeah, it's been a good journey. And you know, the one thing I would say too, for anyone listening, is most mountain bikers, they feel like, obviously we love it, we want to be good at it, and we go in, we practice a skill, we follow better riders, we mimic. And sometimes it just feels like I know what to do, but it's not quite doing that. And it's a little different for everybody. You know, some people, they didn't start out athletic. Some people found mountain biking at a later age. Some people have had injuries. Some people, they notice when they go to do that thing, they progress for years, and then they hit this plateau, and they're like, "What happened? Am I suddenly bad at this or something?"
Well, let me ask you about. I'm gonna ask you about one of those, because personally, this is something that I struggle with, and I've seen you address this on your channel. Is I'm always trying to stay centered. I just noticed I look at video of myself, and I'm pushing back with fear. And you had a great line, which I think you borrowed from Jeff Lenoski, that when we push back on the bike, we're going down something steep and we push back instead of staying centered, go forward. You said it's like loading the slingshot. That makes so much sense, right? You're just like load, you know, so that and you're the rock. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna get slung forward. So I look at the video and so I'm constantly like telling myself, be more forward, be more centered, be more aggressive. Is it more than mental? Is there a physical component in that you would address?
Yeah, there's a physical component. There's a mental component. There's also a reflex. In other words, there's systems within systems in the body.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you think about it, we kind of have this language in mountain biking that's great because it's accessible. You know, stay centered is a great top line version of language.
Right.
And the reason why it's hard to always apply that as an adult is that when we apply language, we might be doing the thing, we might be in the center of the bike, but we might be using the wrong muscles to achieve that stability in the middle of the bike. Or we might be using a compensation with how we got there. And then there's also a third part, which is the inertia. A lot of people don't account for the inertia of what the bike is doing when it's going over a drop. And we just think in one dimension. In other words, back.
Yeah.
Or middle or front. And then, the bike is moving, but it's also rotating as we're going down over a drop, right? So that's what I really like about Jeff. And again, all credit to him on that term. And Jeff is a legend in the sport. I think he was in the first or second movie I ever watched that got me hooked, Rome by The Collective. Specifically, the Superman seat grab Indian Air Darren Barraclough did over the wooden drop he made. I was watching that scene and I had no idea what it was. I'd never seen mountain biking before. I'm like 20 years old. And I see that and I was like, whatever that is, that's what my life is going to be about. So it was crazy. Like I saw that, super quick story. I saw that video. I got hooked on biking, bought my Mongoose from Walmart for $200, broke my collarbone. And next thing I know, I'm out there with my buddies building a race course. We built the biggest wall ride in the Southeast. Red Bull called us up and said, we want to do an event with you. And they sit down pros and I got to star in a movie riding side by side with pros in a Red Bull event that we hosted on trails that I built. And like, dude, you can't get unhooked from that. Like, that's just like, if there is a cocaine of mountain biking, I got like the cocaine, heroin, like triple addiction right there. Yeah. It's probably a terrible example, but like I don't advocate for using drugs. I prefer mountain biking, period. But but yeah, like that's what got me hooked.
If you're on any of those drugs, just mountain bike. You don't need it.
Yeah, just mountain bike.
Just go ride. That's right. Yeah.
That's like it. Yeah. Anyways, like staying centered, like there's one thing you gotta like stay centered, but how we get centered is really, really important. And some of that can come from, how we're achieving it when we're older. We don't activate the same muscles we used to. There's all kinds of stuff we can dig into on the podcast on that. But, like when juxtapose that with the experience of getting super hooked when you're young and now we're older, we're always chasing that high from when we were younger, right? Like, have you guys ever felt that way where it's just like worth it? Even if you are struggling with a skill for months, isn't it worth it to try? Like, do you guys ever feel that way? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I would eliminate the word try. Let's just do, right? I mean, like it's that feeling that you're chasing. And I mean, you just mentioned it, Danny, but it's like, it's that drug. One thing that I'm really curious about it. You mentioned Jeff Lenoski, who happens to be extremely tall. And I know that you and Danny are about the same height. Is there advice? Is there advice that you would give someone that is a tall rider versus a small rider? Like, how does that different? Is it different? I guess is the first question. The advice that you would give someone that was tall versus someone that is small, and what is that difference? That advice difference.
Mm-hmm. So is there a difference? Absolutely. And what most people think is that it's just your range of motion, that like a bigger rider is going to have a lot more range of motion. Therefore, they've got more suspension. Therefore, it's going to be a lot easier for them. And what we typically find is that the smaller riders have easier power delivery to the bike than a taller rider. And a taller rider typically compensates more by allowing for movement without having as much stability in some cases. That would be the opposite for Jeff Lenoski. Jeff is a unusually strong rider.
Yeah, he is.
So I would say the main takeaway, if someone's just like, gosh, I want to go apply one thing, the biggest advantage you have when you are a smaller rider is that your center of gravity is lower and what you do is more direct to the bike. In other words, work on your explosive power. Work on making sure that you can track the terrain with intention and be very good at your hinge, but also work on the muscles around that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
So then also with a taller rider, you need to be able to do this so that you're not overcompensating with just a lot of movement. Because once you get to the end of your range of balance, then you're going to have to lock up a bunch of muscles and then you don't you're not able to access movement as much. So I know that's very granular, kind of detailed, but I hope it's helpful. Of course, my son's going to ride his dirt bike in the middle of this. He's just ripping out there. You should have seen that. He's like, no helmet, awesome. No shoes, just what?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Awesome. That's one of the things I love about your channel and your approach is that you talk about this performance plateau. And I feel like so many riders get on that plateau and then maybe have a couple of crashes and they're like, you know what? I'm just good here.
Yeah.
I like riding. I like what I'm doing and I'll just stay here. And you're kind of like, that's fine, of course, but that's also not okay. Like you can also like, there are ways to get through that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to stay at that level. Like, and you were talking earlier about that feeling of progression, that feeling of stoke, you know, when you were a kid or when you were riding the giant wall rides or Red Bull comes to town and you're riding with pros, like that feeling. And, you know, there's a trap there. We could definitely I know that I can get stuck in that, like that progression paradox, kind of like where I'm chasing that and then I'm crashing and I'm so like you're chasing that feeling, but gosh, when you are progressing in a healthy way and in a good way, and you're moving off of that plateau up another level, man, I mean, it's just like, it's the best feeling in the world. I don't know how many sports like you really even keep supplying just that unlimited everyone. You could just get better and better and better. Trails can get harder and harder and more stoke. It's just awesome. So I really love the way that you approach that. Like we can all get better.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever tried golf? It's not the same.
No, right.
It does get harder.
You play a little golf, right? Yeah.
I play golf, man. Yeah. I used to play golf when I was a kid and it's just not the same stoke.
Well, there's no inherent risk in golf, you know, and mountain biking, depending on what you're doing, you could die. I mean, I guess you could take a golf ball to the head, but I mean, like
the thing with mountain biking and the idea of progression, it's like what I've found is really interesting because the industry has really, I like the industry. I don't actually think the industry is my enemy because, you know, there's some other people out there, I won't name names. They're like, oh, the industry wants to rob you by selling you a new dimension of this thing. I'm like, no, it doesn't. They're engineers. What else are they going to do?
It's ultimately a victim mentality, you know, like everything's happening for us and we don't need to say that like these people are out to get us, you know, like.
Yeah. Like I always joke and say like my quote, super big on the quotes here. My quote is the kids are the enemy. It's like they're having all the fun without any of the cost. But I say that completely joking because, dude, we want what they have in a positive way, right? So, like I got a rider named Abel. He's someone I worked with 5-6 years ago, and he got on with me, and he's like, "Man, I'm interested in working with you because, I'm okay at biking, but I'm getting a little bit older. My body doesn't work the same way that it used to. And secretly, I just want to lead group rides. I'm in Austin, Texas. We got an awesome community. And I see all the fun that everyone's having.
Yeah.
And what he did is he looked at, my body isn't working the same way that it used to. And it's also affecting how I'm riding. And so we worked on that together. And he sent me a picture and it's him and 75 people. And he's the president of the Austin Ridge Trail Riders right now.
Yo.
And so, so the thing is like, we need to start moving towards solving the problem that's holding us back, not just practicing more, following better riders. But it's like what I found is that people spend, the people that are spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 or more on a bike, those people and everyone who spends less on their equipment, the average spend on improving their skills directly is $19 a year.
Yeah.
Which is probably less than the cost of my glass of water here.
Yeah.
Because this thing,
what's in that water?
Extra bucks for that.
$19 glass of water. There's
it's like
14 packets of element in there.
You ever bought like a 6-pack of these things, man? Like these glasses cost more money.
So, oh yeah, the mason jar. Yes, very nice mason jar.
I spend like $1,000 or $2,000 on my phone every year.
It's so true.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. And so, like what you were saying, Sage, it's like I don't want to ever scare anyone. It's not that you should approach biking like you're going to die doing this if you don't practice your skills. That's a bad attitude.
Yeah.
But a great way to look at it is, what is it that I can do that makes the most difference with the things that I can control? Part of that's your equipment. I have right here, I don't have any sponsors. I want to be decoupled from anyone else's opinions. So I've got my Öhlins DH38. This thing does everything I need it to do.
Yeah.
So when I go to Jared's place and I'm hitting a huge 40, 50 foot jump and I'm a little off balance, that thing's it's damped perfectly. So your equipment is important. You got to invest in your equipment. And you got to look at, okay, well, is it the body? Is it the mindset? Is it the fear response that's holding you back the most? Is it a technical skill that you haven't been able to learn yet? And how can you invest more in your skills to solve the problem that makes you the great rider you want to be? That's a great question. Like, how do you do that? So I always encourage people to think about it that way.
One of the things I really appreciate from your channel is you don't just focus on mountain bikes as in the gear and like specific mountain bike skills. Like I've seen videos where you're using like a slack line to teach like stability and balance. Like these are things like outside of the box that mountain bikers can do. What are some other tools that you use outside of like what a typical mountain biker would use, the typical things that the gear that you would, but like what are like slack lines? What else what else would you recommend?
So the number one thing is anything to improve your hip dissociation. Is we're not used to dissociating the movement of the femur and the pelvis, and you actually don't need any equipment at all. It's like use the floor.
Yeah.
And so, there's a whole can of worms like how to do that. Some of that you might need to address with a physical therapist. Some of it is what we do. Some of it is, there's some free stuff online about, different mobility drills you can do. That one's probably the number one indicator of success with a rider is if they have good hip mobility, because it's something that you need for everything. You got to hinge on the bike. You've got to be able to point your knees and twist and turn. A lot of the stuff I do is slower than you would ever expect. So some of the moves that I do, I do squats sometimes 30 seconds down and 30 seconds up, because a lot of times we train the muscles and we blow through our travel. So imagine like bench pressing as hard as you can. If there's any muscle compensations in the pathway from here to here, like maybe we're going to roll our shoulder over a little bit, or we're going to kind of like arch our back the wrong way.
Yeah.
Whenever that happens, we're going to blow through our travel and we're going to rely on our raw strength. And raw strength is just how hard can you squeeze a muscle. And if you rely on that, you're not using your mobility, which is strength throughout range of motion. And then there's also functional strength, which is how you use your body together. And so much of what we need to learn is no equipment, movement based, because we lose that when you're a professional something else. You know what I mean? You sit at a desk a lot or you do repetitive motion. Your body's going to, your body only works on habits of what it's used to. And so it's going to learn what those habits are. Essentially, when I'm doing those slow squats, when I'm doing those slow movements, it gives my body and my brain a snapshot of how I move here and how I move here and how I move here and how I move here. And that shows my body, hey, you can do this move to begin with. And then once you've got that down, and only then do you start adding power. And then and only then do you start adding, okay, I'm going to do more with my body, with more parts of my body. Does that make sense? How that's different from just like, because all that's out there right now that I'm aware of is, either strength training or just like stretching, and then maybe a few mobility programs. But generally people don't train the body how to move properly throughout the full range of motion. And that's why we get stiff on the bike.
I think that's awesome. Ride Laugh 1 at Gmail and YouTube comments. Any questions for Dave or for us regarding what you're talking about? And so if clients work with you, like definitely everyone check out the YouTube channel. It's phenomenal. And there's like a library of awesome stuff in there. But if clients work with you, is that what a lot of it is learning those? Because we've done podcasts. We've had many conversations about weightlifting and with mountain biking. And I lift weights. I always have. And I lift them the same way that I have since I was like 16. I get as heavy as I can and do as many reps as I can, and I make a lot of noise at the end. It's
so fun. Like it's so satisfying to just toss up a big thing of deadlifts or squats or whatever. I
love the feeling.
Like, oh yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I love the feeling of just like going to failure, just like, but you're right. Like it makes sense to get strong throughout the entire range of motion. And I've always heard that, the negative is where the strength is built and go slow and squeeze at the top. And, and I try to focus on it, but I'm still just doing my own thing. And to say like, oh, well, here's a mountain bike specific, way to train, that's appealing because that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah. It's so funny. I've heard the grip strength is the number one indicator of longevity. Number two, I've heard that how few limbs you need to get up off the ground. Like if you can just get up off the ground with, like in a pistol squat on one foot, then that's an indicator of longevity. And I've also heard that just pure muscle mass is an indicator of longevity. I think they're all right. like let's be honest.
Yeah.
So man, it's like if I was listening to this and most people, they do some form of working out, stretching, yoga, riding their bike a lot. And what I found is that, gosh, just by doing something consistently helps so much. But if you do nothing and you just ride your bike occasionally, that's a tough place to come from. Because if you're not doing anything, then great, your body's getting used to, like, it's optimizing to be essentially lazy. No offense, but that is what it is.
Yeah.
And I think the problem that people run into, just my opinion on this, I think that people get obsessed with something like watts or pedal cadence or bike body separation, and they completely miss the thing that gives them that easily. And they wonder why it doesn't feel like when they were a kid. Like they wonder why they feel like they're forcing it a little bit. So kind of like a lot of guys that are strong and have lifted a lot of weights, if you have decent hip mobility, then a lot of times it's like 50-50 for you. You'll hop on the bike, Dan, and you'll find out with a little bit of technique adjustment and a little bit of body work, those together end up making a really big jump in your performance. So that's what we do. We analyze people's movement on the bike and we analyze their movement off the bike. And to my knowledge, we're the only ones that go, hey man, like the reason you're not bunny hopping very high is because your muscles aren't being recruited in your hamstrings. Let's work on that first. And sometimes that doesn't even show up off the bike. It shows up on the bike or vice versa. And so it's just a crapshoot. Right. You got to do the analysis in order to see where is that coming from. You guys can kind of tell I'm like obsessed with analysis and obsessed with, well, we got to know what the data is telling us, but we got to look at the right data. And it just makes sense.
Having an engineer brain, like an engineer background, like you're coming at this from a different angle. And it's an angle of how, like you said, that book, how does this work? And I think it's really cool. Anyone that's watching the YouTube is going to notice that you're standing for the interview. And so are you, and we've all heard that sitting is like, the new smoking, and how bad sitting is for us. And you mentioned we're all training our bodies all the time. So if we're sitting and, I worked a desk job for, my entire career. And so two things, like, do you use a standing desk like all the time? Do you recommend standing over sitting if possible? And then the other one was that you had a video where you mentioned what the horse stance and that mobility, which is like a hip mobility. Have you seen this one, Sage? The horse stance?
No.
It's like it looks like a sumo squat, but your hips are a little bit further back.
Yeah, most people do it wrong. They put their toes out. You got to get your toes parallel.
Oh, toes are parallel.
That makes it way harder.
Oh, I've been doing it
it's a lot harder than you think.
I've been doing it the past couple of days, and then I was doing it when I was brushing my teeth. But it hurts. I mean, it gets your quads going. But I was happy that I could do it, but I don't know that I was doing it correctly.
Yeah, I mean, like to answer your question, do I recommend a sitting or standing desk? Those things can all help. The most important thing you can do for your health and your longevity is more activity and a lifestyle where you're moving. I have a newborn 7-month-old baby girl. She's crushing me, dude.
Congratulations.
She hasn't stopped moving since she's been born. And it's like, we all just need to look at the kids, man. They are, it could be anything as little as standing on one leg when you brush your teeth. It could be take the stairs instead of take the elevator. Any little thing is going to help. I'm not like if you sit down a lot, it's not the end of the world as long as you're moving more. It's really good clickbait. Sitting is the new smoking. It's like, stop scaring people, man. I'm guilty as anyone though. Like, have you guys seen my worst clickbait titles? They're the worst. That's the one thing I want to Like I'll own it.
click
It's
on
like,
all
dude,
of them.
that's what people click on. That's what people click on.
They work. Yeah. Yeah. They totally work.
Like I tested the lame, boring titles. You didn't click on them. So I have to do the like the embarrassing truth that'll.
Yeah. Oh. But I will say the good thing about your videos, Dave, is that I don't think it's clickbait because you address the subject. You know what I mean? Like you're not lying in your videos. You are going to address that. I mean, it's over the top, you know, but it gets people's attention, but you do address it. I feel like clickbait is when I know, Sage, you're really, really cognizant of this on your channel and we do this with the podcast. We don't want to advertise that we're going to talk about something and then not talk about it. Cause that's a big
clickbait. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, I have a responsibility to move people in the right direction while I'm here. I've always been super heavy on that because for me, right as soon as I found mountain biking, my dad passed away from cancer. I'm 40 now. So it was a little while back. And ever since then I was like, dude, life is short. I was really proud of how my dad conducted himself when he was both alive and healthy and when he was sick. And now it's like, dude, I watched someone who was my hero, strong, healthy. You know, he was 6'2", 6'3", but I'm like the skinny version of him. Like he was a big, strong dude. And I like watching his health decline super left an impact on me. That's probably why I do what I do, you know, and I just, I just love seeing people say, you know what, my health is important. My mountain biking is a great way to have a ton of fun, meet great people, do awesome stuff, do dangerous things safely. And that's why I want to, you know, work on this. But it's like, man, you just got to go about life in a way where you're moving everybody towards their purpose.
I love that.
I don't like necessarily follow your passion, because passion by definition is just like a rabid state of emotion for no good reason. And a better thing to do is follow your purpose. So the purpose is like almost like not like a burden, but it's something that's bigger than you are and it's heavier than you are. And so you must expand your capacity to lift it.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a really cool way to tie everything together. Like, how do we, as creators, you guys, me, like, how do we go out there and raise the bar for people so that they get a little bit closer to their purpose with every single video? So
passion is what we love to do, but purpose is, because we love riding bikes, but our purpose of the podcast is definitely to inspire people to have more fun on bikes and to use mountain biking as a tool to live better. You know, we talk about mountain bike synchronicities all the time of, you know, flow in the bike, flow in life. And, you know, just last episode we were talking about, you know, using less gear and riding with less as we get older and we get more confident. We need less. And then it's just like, oh, well, isn't that just like in life? You know, as you go, like we actually need less. We have everything we need if we're present and grounded. Right. So yeah, I love that purpose. Yeah.
What have you found is like the best thing to help you get in state of kind of letting go and riding like when you were a kid again?
Man, I don't really have a problem getting into the flow. I just get so excited when I get on the bike that it comes naturally. But a few tips that I'll use if I am struggling to get in the flow is music. You know, if I'm by myself, music really helps me to get into the flow of things. Also, what I listen to before I ride. You know, Danny and I joke around that we listen to our own pod because we talk about positive things and how to approach things. So how I prepare for a ride, that makes a huge difference. If I'm with a group and I'm having trouble finding the flow, a lot of times what will happen is I'll get down on myself. And instead, nowadays, I'm just trying to focus on being grateful and noticing, being aware of good things that are happening around me. And when I do that and I take the focus off of the negative parts of my riding and I focus on other things and maybe other people, like, yo, Danny, that was awesome how you did that, then that kind of lifts my own spirits. It helps me to get back into the flow. And sometimes, listen, sometimes it doesn't work. You know, sometimes it's just one of those rides, you just call it, you're like, you know what? All right, it is what it is. But there are techniques that you can employ to help yourself get back into that flow. Danny, how about you?
I agree. I find if I'm not flowing, it's probably because I'm overthinking. And so when I find that I'm in that state where I'm fighting the bike and and I'm out here doing something that I love and having fun, or supposed to be having fun, and I'm like getting angry at myself because I've seen Dave talk about this on his videos. You're so tense that you're like, I'm supposed to be having fun right now. Like, why aren't I loose and relaxed? And yeah, it's because there's thoughts in there. For me, 99% of the time, it's because there's thoughts in there. So, similar to what Sage is saying, finding something to have gratitude for. Okay, I'm just out. It's a beautiful day. I'm on my bike. I'm with friends, or I'm by myself. Just kind of starting to let that go. Feel the bike. Feel the pedals. Feel the contact points. Get your eyes up, and even just pull over. Take a couple deep breaths. Notice wherever you're riding. Our sport takes us beautiful places, whether it's your local trails or somewhere else. It's 99% of the time you're out in nature, and it's awesome. And just kind of recalibrate. And just kind of be able to calm the nervous system down. What about you, Dave? Any pro tips there? Or did you have feedback, Sage?
I was about to say, Danny, like, don't be afraid to change a game plan too. Like you go out for a ride and it's like, oh, I'm going to do this trail, or I'm going to do this. And if it's not happening for you, like just change the game. You don't have to do that ride. Change the game plan. Maybe go hit a different trail. Don't be like, this is what I was supposed to do. Like, we're letting go of all of those things and just let yourself adapt to how you are feeling, including where you're riding.
Yeah. Adaptation is really the name of the game, and how to adapt. The best way that I've found is this concept of self-aware versus self-conscious.
Yeah.
So self-aware means that we do notice and we're aware of what's going on, and we choose the right things to be aware of. So I like what you said about gratitude. That's one thing that you can do to introduce a positive state of mind. Then also, I think, Dan, you had mentioned maybe the nervous system, making sure the nervous system is in sync. So being in a state of awareness is important because we have a also self-conscious brain. And these are correlated with our fast brain, that's the self-aware. And there's also a slow analytical brain, which is self-conscious. And when we find ourselves overthinking, the solution is not to think less. It's very hard to do if you just think less. Like, no one does that. If I say think
Good
less,
luck.
like about what? The brain doesn't work that way. Right. And so by shifting the awareness from my elbow's here and my riding's bad, what am I doing? And like trying to force it. Instead, focusing on and this is where you kind of have to know what to focus on. It's a little tough for some people, but focusing on the right thing and noticing if it's happening or not, and giving yourself time and space or effort amounts to do that. On the next 10 turns, I wonder if I can keep my pressure level in both my feet. Oh, what did that feel like? Oh, I did it.
Yeah.
Cool. So that when we're in that self-awareness state, it takes us pretty much away from the self-analysis mode, which gives us too many things to think about too slowly. Mountain biking is too fast for us to analyze what we're doing while we're doing it. And if that's the majority of your riding, frankly, you're not going to be having any fun, and it's really dangerous.
Right.
That's why people crash the most often, because they're trying a technique rather than, actually building the technique up through a series of practice and then introducing it to the trail by being self-aware. That's what I found.
That's good stuff.
Really good. Yeah. One of your clickbait titles was really that starting small was bad advice.
Yeah. Dude, I hear this all the time. Can I just speak really candidly, directly to people? If you keep telling yourself, if you ride a long time and you keep telling yourself, oh, I'll just, not go too fast, or I'll go around that, that's called defense. Mountain biking is a game, and you have to have a complete team. In other words, you need offense and defense. And the mountain and physics doesn't care about your feelings. And most people, they say, I'll stay where I'm comfortable. Comfort is a feeling. That's not confidence. Like confidence, real confidence on the bike comes from a deep knowing in your nervous system, your brain, your body. It knows that you can do something. And because it knows, you don't have to think about it. And when you just stay safe and you practice little things, all you're doing is just throwing in little bad habits that never challenge the nervous system to go to a place of, okay, I'm nervous, but I'm activated. Okay. You have to go to places where you're uncomfortable on a bike and in life in order to challenge yourself. And when you're uncomfortable the right way, then you get into an activated state where your brain actually performs.
Yeah.
And that crash that you think had nothing, just the tire slipped out from under me. No, it didn't. You just spent 20 years causing that crash by staying small, by staying in your comfort zone. So I have a personal vendetta against the comfort zone, because so much of riding talk right now is it's just fun. Just ride your bike, be comfortable, which is another version of never challenge yourself, never actually activate the nervous system in a way where you can really learn a new skill. Doing a move, like for example, a 3-foot drop, doing it in a way where you lean towards the danger first to anticipate the rock roll and then fill in the space with your body. It's uncomfortable the first time you do it. And baking the technique in the right way is uncomfortable. But when you do it the right way, you're going to grow and your nervous system will activate beforehand and it'll show up and go, okay, we're doing it. That's what real commitment looks like, not this, well, I thought about it and I built up my courage and now I feel comfortable. That's just like a proxy. It's like a false confidence.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, I've often said, some of my worst crashes are just like on those routine local trails that and you can just kind of ride on autopilot and you're just not really thinking about it. You're just not really grounded, and there's a danger in there. And then, as far as like, if you're out, listeners, if you're out riding and you're enjoying and you don't have any desire to progress, are you really being honest with yourself? Like you want to go outside and you want to have, enjoy it. That's great. And the exercise and the fun and just stay in your comfort zone. But is there that little thing in the back of your mind that's just like maybe scared of progressing? But boy, like if you could do it safely, does that sound appealing? You know what I mean? Like, oh, are those options open? Like, wait, maybe I can get better. Maybe I can do that line. Maybe I can start to jump. Maybe I can do drops, but I haven't really been able to give myself permission to even think that because the fear of some crashes that I had 3 years ago, 5 years ago, and now I'm older and now I got a mortgage and I can't get hurt. All those stories that we tell ourselves, but what if we could do it safely? What if someone like, whether it be taking a class or someone like Dave could be like, there's a way that you can go out and have all this fun and start getting better and do more things safely without crashing. And also, by the way, when you're riding your regular ride, you're going to go faster and you're going to crash less. So like open up those possibilities. What's possible? Because sometimes we just lock it down.
Would it be helpful if I walk through, because this is what I study with working with the riders in our cohorts under the supervision of expert mentorship. So we have a lot of data on what progression and skill development looks like for adults. Would it be helpful if I walk through that?
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd be interested in what that looks like. Yeah.
So I've essentially broken this down into 4 steps. And so adults, we don't have to play defense like 95-year-olds that are just completely at the end of our career. But we also can't practice like we're little kids anymore. And the reason why is because you need to work with the nervous system and not against it when you're learning new skills and baking them in. So what that looks like, there's a 4-step process that we came up with, and it's called the progression process because make it literal, why not? And the 4 steps, they need to be done in order. And so most people, what they do when they want to improve a skill is they look at step number 4, which is technical. So technical would be, for example, popping a jump or, leaning your bike into a corner or transition from some Rocky Rudy to, pop off of some things on a downhill race to switching direction in the air and landing in a berm or something. That's all.
Yes,
that's all
all those. I want to do better at all that.
It's the fun stuff. So typically what we do is we work on the technical by mimicking a better rider or a YouTuber or like friends. And frankly, that works really well when you're a kid. Like, why does it work so well when you're 12, 15, 20 years old though? Part of the reason why is A, because of exposure, and B, because there's less friction between the thing we're trying to do. Imagine yourself being 18 and someone shows you how to bunny hop. You could probably figure it out that day.
Yeah.
Why? Because you have 3 hours of energy you can burn through without getting tired. A. B, when you get closer, you can feel it without feeling the mortgage, without feeling the ache, without feeling the pain. And so we don't have that reflex defense built in from time. So that's why kids, frankly, need to learn through exposure. And even there are some things that kids are like, they still do have movement patterns that aren't necessarily optimal, but they're super good at compensating with very little penalty, both in the body and in their reaction speed, their ability to heal from danger when they crash. It's like they just got it good. And so let's walk backwards. What you really need to do is you need to look at how do you get the thing that a kid has as an adult? And step number one in the progression process is activation. In other words, the brain activating a muscle in the body. Simple as that. Okay. Most of the time, I want to talk about normal people. They sit in a desk, kind of like we talked about earlier. They repeat the same motions, kind of like what you're doing, Dan, like you're working out. You repeat those motions, you add strength to those motions. What the body does is it uses its strengths more over time. It uses its strengths more over time. And so essentially you're just like firing the muscles that work more, and the muscles that are kind of going asleep, they just kind of hang out and they're there, but they don't necessarily get used the same way. Right. And so when you reintroduce that muscle activation to the body again, what that does is it does number two automatically for you, which is a neurological pattern. Okay. So a neurological pattern is where the body remembers that it can do that. And that's how it activates that thing. Now, the difference here is that most people don't like to do this because you got to go joint by joint. You got to go through and you got to look at, okay, every single individual muscle that's in the body, which is a lot. Which ones are working and which ones are not? How are we compensating? Okay. So that's why typically people just, kind of, I'm not trying to self-promote here, but like, that's why people pay us, because we go that level deep. Yeah.
Right.
And the only reason I say that is because what we find is that there are some major patterns. Like one of the biggest ones is the core. People don't know how to use their core because we sit. We're really good at sitting. When we sit, there's a muscle that goes around the middle called the TVAs, transversus abdominis muscle. It essentially goes to sleep. And when this muscle goes to sleep, we start using our low back, our hamstrings, and our hip flexors. They kind of take over. And when they take over, we reduce our range of motion, which is why it feels like we have tight hip flexors, tight hamstrings, and it feels like we got that desk body. So if you're watching this and you're going, oh, that makes sense why my body doesn't work that way, that's actually the reason why it's really hard for you to bunny hop or manage forces on a drop, or that's why it's really hard to corner. The big one's cornering because it's the first one to challenge this. And then we got to talk about this too. So what we've already done, if you worked on this, is you've learned how to activate your muscles properly. Then you got to translate that into how the body moves when it's doing stuff like sports. So I found that there's about 7, 8, 9 fundamental movements of the mountain biker. There's someone who already came up with the 7 fundamental movements of sports, so I don't want to copy them. But there's the hinge, there's squatting, there's rotation, anti-rotation, pushing and pulling. Right. So what your body does is that's functional, step number 3. And then what your body does is it borrows from number 2 to do these, and it's only allowed to use what you've got here automatically. Because doing those movements happens too fast and it's too complicated to actually think about it. Mm. So when you slow down and do these step 1, 2, 3 first, you can actually learn and prime the body to move like a mountain biker before you touch a bike. That's why when you optimize the body first, the next thing that happens is when you hop on the bike and try to do a technique, it feels more automatic if your technique is approximately right. And this is why if you go to a weekend clinic, you can get it right at the clinic. But then when you come home from the clinic, you go, I kind of feel like I forgot a little bit. It's like, that's because your body was just forcing a number 4 step on top of a 1, 2, 3 where something was a little bit missing. But if you're just listening to this and you want to know, like, what's the number 1 thing you could do? Frankly, it's going to be some core work is number 1, and 2 is hip dissociation, and 3 is thoracic spine mobility. So I can maybe include some links or maybe make some YouTube videos later for you guys if you want to do that. But why don't we do that? I'll make some links and we can put them in the podcast here below, and you can actually do a couple exercises. Yeah, I'll do like 1 beginner and 1 advanced that you guys can try out. All right. It'll kind of help you feel those 3 main ones. So it's like hip dissociation, core activation, and then also thoracic spine mobility. Those are the three
super
that
curious.
if you kind of get them right. Yeah. We'll do that for you guys. I don't like giving away exercises because people almost always do them wrong. Not like it's hard to do this without supervision, but I'll try to make some that'll be compatible for just, follow along.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'm thinking about myself. Sage, you do less weightlifting and you don't really do any mobility work, yet you're supremely confident and connected on the bike. But maybe that was your athletic upbringing, playing all that soccer and,
Yeah. I mean, I don't lift weights. I certainly, when I lift, I do not do my legs. That is for sure. As for mobility training, I don't do typical mobility training in the sense of like being on the floor and, doing these Pilates moves. But what I do, which is always funny to say, is I practice mobility on the trail. And you'll see this, and I've known you've seen this because we ride together all the time, Danny, but like I will purposely throw in moves that are unnecessary. I will throw in endo turns and J hops where it's completely unnecessary. And those are to help my body to loosen up. And it also has the effect of when I do need those moves, it's there for me. So I'm moving a tremendous amount, dynamic on the bike, and that helps with my mobility. Could I probably get more stretchy, more loose? I probably could, but it's not that I'm not immobile. I exaggerate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not crashing, and he's progressing really well. And you know what I mean? So like, he's probably not the guy who's looking up the Mountain Bike Academy videos as much as I am, because I am crashing, and sometimes I progress, but sometimes when you crash, you take steps back also. So, just the difference in the athleticism that your body has versus what my body has, I'm putting the time in, but now that I'm talking to Dave, it's like, but am I working the right muscles? Are the right muscles for mountain biking being activated? Because I'm doing squats and deadlifts. Is there something else? Are there other things that aren't talking to my brain? Yeah, it just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing this stuff for 6 years and there's still stuff that I'm working on. So I like what Sage, you said about doing more movement than is necessary. I do that too. Like, A, isn't that so fun? And B, haven't you found that like, just kind of like, I love that because anyone should and could be able to apply that. That's like, so many people are like concerned about the right move. So there's convergent riding and then there's divergent riding. Convergent riding is where we really try to perfectly execute a body position, like very, very refined. And then divergent is how much of a movement can I explore inside of what I call the balance pocket. And I think like why that's fun and why that works so well for you probably is because you're seeing and you're showing your body, this is where I can go and this is what we can do on the bike. We're cool, we're still stable. And frankly, that's good that both of you guys are here talking, because that's typically people are one or the other. It's more like the fluid person who's just going all over the place. If you just have that, then you got a lot of soul in your riding, but you're going to be limited in how much stability and balance you can garner from the trail. And then if all you are is like Mr. Perfect technique guy, then that probably doesn't sound like very much fun, but it just kind of like, it's like bland food. You didn't sign up for that. You didn't make it all the way to the trail just to eat food that I would have made. I'm not very good at making food.
We need some hot sauce.
She's a little Italian. Yeah. She's like, dude, the bread I had before this podcast blew my mind, dude. So like, I want the tasty bread, man. I want that. Yeah. I want that like Italian focaccia. I don't want the frozen toaster garbage from the.
You don't want the regular old white bread. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you gotta have both. And I think like that's such a good advice, Sage. Like just go out there and do more than the technique is like calling for, and feel what it feels like to go like, twist your hips before the turn or J-hop into like a 2-inch roller, like why not get a little extra speed there? It's fun.
Awesome stuff. Ride Laugh 1 at Gmail, YouTube comments, any questions? What's resonating with the conversation? What's resonating? What do you agree with, or do you disagree with, or do you have questions about? And certainly, is this starting to anyone that's on a skills plateau, anyone that's on a fitness plateau, anyone that's not lifting weights or doing any sort of exercise off the bike, is this starting to say, maybe this is something I want to look into? And certainly, give us all your feedback and comments, and make sure that you check out Dave's channel. I know that you respond to all the comments on your channel as well. I've seen that. You can really see the scientific mind, the engineer's mind, in the way that you have approached this and broken this down. And maybe we'll do another episode at some point, because I'd love to hear your kind of origin story. You touched on it a little bit, but like from that first broken collarbone to what you're doing now, full time. And we talk about mountain bike synchronicities. Like you have an engineering background, but you identified mountain biking as something that you want to be part of. And here you are, and you're sharing the stoke and making a living at it at the same time. And that's just a beautiful thing. Anything's possible. When we follow our purpose and have that passion about something at the same time, it's just the coolest. So appreciate you, dude.
It's good times, man. Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
All right, Seiji, mountain bike gratitude of the week. You want to start us?
Yeah, dude, my mountain bike gratitude, it goes out to Lisa, who, I have not been getting out on many rides, Danny. As you know, I've for a variety of reasons, let's just say life. And I was feeling pretty down and out. And she reached out and she's like, look, we do these Thursday night rides, no drop. Like it's a very chill, really fun group ride. And man, I really appreciated that, man. We went out to the WIS, which I know you know very well, and it was so much fun. I mean, I let go of all expectations and just really enjoyed everybody there. They were so kind. Everyone was really good. They were so talented. And thank you, Lisa, for the invite. I had an absolute blast.
Yeah, awesome. Open to receive, no expectations. Right. You put yourself out there, right? You open the door. You said, okay, let me see if I can ride with this new group that I'm not familiar with. It's just like learning a new skill or getting off that progression plateau, right? Doing something a little out of our comfort zone, whether it's applying for a job or going on a date, whatever it is. Like, you got to put yourself out there. And when you do that, when you just get into it and you keep moving forward, good things usually happen. It sounds like you had a great time. So thank you, Lisa, and everyone on that ride. Awesome stuff.
Yes.
All right, Dave, you got a mountain bike gratitude that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I got a gratitude. I'm going to throw some good old grat towards my instructors that I get to work with. So I got Kevin Stiffler, head instructor. He's got 2 PhDs and he's coached over 10,000 riders in his career. Wow. The thing that I want to throw gratitude to Kevin for specifically is just raw positivity around what's possible for students.
I love that.
I think one of the mark of a great instructor is someone who obviously, like, they don't have to say they believe in people. It comes through in the way that they help people.
Oh, yeah.
So Kevin's phenomenal at that, and super gratitude. Send it his way. I'll send you the link, Kevin. And then also Brett Tippie, he's a new mentor on our team. And I want to show gratitude to Brett because his commitment to being a leader and being the person we all want to be is just 10 out of 10. And so I'm super inspired by that. I'm only 40. So I'm like, dude, if I can ride like Brett Tippie in 17 years, I'm going to be beyond stoked. I'm going to be so
I love that you said only 40. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm old.
Most people are thinking I'm getting old. Yeah, but you have this example of this dude who's 57 and shredding, and it's plenty of time, all the time. That's so cool. Yeah. Sounds like awesome people to work with, and when we bring gratitude into our work, then you just end up getting more positivity. So it just builds on itself, and the 2 guys you named when you talked about Kevin and Brett, the 2 things you were talking about was their positivity, their energy, so you're surrounding yourself with people that you want that energy. You're not surrounding yourself with no people. It's yes people.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. My mountain bike gratitude of the week is a bike shop in Globe called Topo Joe's. The Topo Joe's shuttle is awesome. And they take you up to this top of this mountain. It's 6,000 or 8,000 feet. I mean, it's so high. It takes over an hour to just ride down one trail. But the bike shop, like they run the shuttle, but the bike shop was awesome. And the people in the shop were so cool. I talked to Tanner for a real good long time, and just like super, super stoked on riding. They've been through it. They had floods. They lost their shop twice to floods, and they rebuilt it. And I was riding with my buddy Chris Huffmeyer, and he had some tire issues, and they were just awesome and like helping him out, and getting some sealant, and just really, really good people. So I'll talk more about that ride in future episodes probably, because it was pretty interesting. But Topo Joe's, if you're thinking about going to Globe, like awesome bike shop, awesome shuttle service. If you're in the Phoenix area, highly recommend them. And anytime I meet like really cool, passionate bike people, you appreciate it. When you walk into a bike shop and there's like a mechanic there who's like, I don't feel like doing this, I'm too busy. Like you get that vibe. You walk into a bike shop and they're like, yeah, we're all here to ride. Like, let's have some fun. That's awesome. That makes a difference. So Topo Joe's, they're the real deal. Yeah. Gratitude.
Yeah. Well, actually the negative experience that I usually get from a bike shop, and I don't know if this is true anymore, but it used to feel like exclusive, not inclusive. You'd walk in and they make you feel less than, what am I, like just because I'm buying the entry level bike, I'm not good enough for the bike shop, like that kind of like an arrogant attitude. I'm noticing less and less of it from bike shops. So that's awesome, man. Let's be more inclusive in how we approach people and how we talk to people, not just in a bike shop, but on the trail too.
Yes.
Inclusivity.
All right, Seiji, mountain bike tip of the week.
Mountain bike tip. And this goes back to the ride that I did with that group, with Lisa's group at the WIS. And there is one section at the WIS. It's very loose and steep. And everybody was kind of going at this thing. And there was a guy there, Adam, and I noticed he was a little bit hesitant. And I was like, hey, what's going on here? And he's like, I crashed pretty badly here. And I was like, okay, well, do you want to do it? And he was like, yeah, I really do want to do it. And so we just kind of coached him up a little bit. And the main thing that I focused on here and the mountain bike tip is exactly this. You are not the crash. You get to a feature and you're like, oh, I crashed really bad here. You are not that crash. That crash does not define you as a mountain biker. And that's what I told Adam. I said, listen, can you do a steep feature? Have you done steep features like this? That's the first question you ask, right? Yes, I have. So it's just this one that you crashed on. Like, forget that. Drop that immediately. I've seen him ride. I've been watching him ride this whole time. And I was like, Adam, you have this. You have the skills to do it. Let it go, trust in it, and just let that happen. So the question that I have for you two is, without getting into specifics on an actual feature, what are some tips that you guys would have for other people that might be experiencing this, like that have to get over a crash? What are some of the things that you guys do when you reach a point where it's like, oh man, I crashed there once?
Great question. I got to ask, did he ride it?
He did. And he rode it really well. Yeah.
All right. Good job.
Dude, high fives everywhere. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Dave. Crash recovery mindset.
Crash. Yeah.
Getting over that.
Crash success. Yeah. Right.
So I like what Sage said. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. And
yes. Oh, I like that.
Every setback is a setup for a comeback. And what Sage said that I really liked was, have you done this before? And the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And good gracious, if you've already done a rock roller, a steep one, or a drop, or a jump just like it, that means that I can tie my identity to that thing. So what I learned from Brett Tippie, he was given a little lesson on this. He said, when I do something that's tough, I'm going to double down into inspecting it, really pre-riding it, doing a couple run-ups, make sure I can feel it and know it in my head, and then know my number first. Okay. So as someone who knows how to do the feature, I'm definitely going to activate Super Dave. So Brett Tippie, he's like, I have Super Tippie who does these crazy features. But Super Tippie and Super Dave and Super whoever your friend was, just know your number. Maybe I'm 80% confident that I can do this, but my number is 95. I got to be 95 in order to drop in and hit this and commit. Okay, I'm just going to walk away today. No problem. So that allows me to A, keep the identity and be the rider who can, but also I'm going to be smart about it. I'm going to have that number that's my walkaway number. And I always like to check in too physiologically. This is like a little side note. Did I sleep well last night? Am I hydrated? Is my energy good? And if it's good and I've got that number dialed in, send it. Let's go. And if it's not, then cool. I can just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to hit this another day. And there's obviously no shame in that, but like that's what confidence says. Like, cool, here's my number. This is what I'm going to do about it.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. Those fantastic tips. I don't have too much to add because those are all so good. I would say for me, I wouldn't be picturing doing it successfully in my mind beforehand or not thinking about it at all. And then once I'm on the trail, I don't want to think about it until I get there. I don't want to be like, this is coming up and have that on my mind, because you want to be stacking wins. You want to be feeling good. And then when you get to it, it's just like, you know what, I'm feeling really good. And if you're envisioning it, you're envisioning doing it. You're not, if you're envisioning yourself crashing, if you're rehearsing disaster, then that's not the day. But if you're envisioning that success, that breakthrough, and you could, and you feel it, just like Dave's talking about, that confidence level is like starting to really creep up and you feel it, then it's go time. And if it's that last 5% and you know you got it, then roll up to it, do a couple of roll-ups, and then, you'll just know. Sometimes you go to do your first roll-up to see whether or not you're going to do it, and you just do it. You just got it.
Yeah. I do want to be very clear that, obviously if you crash on something, we're not saying that you should go do it. Like obviously if you want to avoid something, go for it. But for me, I had that huge crash where I broke my back and my ribs and both my wrists at Blue Mountain on that trail. What was it? Ewok Village, right? Which is notorious.
Village,
yeah. It takes out millions of people. Millions is a terrible word, but it takes out a lot of people because this trail isn't built to trail speed. And when I hit this, I hit it at trail speed and oversent it. And listen, could I avoid that trail every time I go to the bike park? Yeah, I could. I could just take a different trail to go down. But in my head, I was like, I don't want that crash to define that trail for me. 1, 2, I want to be able to have fun everywhere. Why do I have to avoid this trail? I want to go. If you're going to do it, I want to follow you. Right. And so it's like, if that's there, if that motivation is there, then you ask those questions, how I've, like you were saying, Dave, how I've been riding, what's the weather been like? What's the terrain been like? Have I done jumps similar to this? Hey, is there someone that I can follow? If I miss somebody, that's already done this or that I trust. Hey, Danny, do you mind if I follow you through this trail? And hey, Danny, do you have any advice on this? Like, let's be open to advice. And if you are someone that is comfortable with leading somebody through, give them that advice. Here's the speed. I brake check into this a little bit here, right? Or if it's a drop, look, this is the speed going into it. Every feature is going to be different, but let's take this both ways. Can you help somebody else, and how do you help yourself?
Awesome. Good stuff.
Love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. Dave, Mountain Bike Academy, check out his channel. Dave, thanks so much for coming on. It was absolutely awesome talking to you. Obviously passionate about mountain biking, and that comes across in your channel and certainly on the one-on-one, and looking forward to just seeing more and more of your content. So thank you so much for making the time to come on to Ride and Laugh. Everybody, if you're still listening, you are definitely one of us. You love mountain biking. We appreciate you. Please rate and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Check out Dave's channel, Mountain Bike Academy, and Ride and Laugh 1 at Gmail. YouTube comments. We appreciate you. Everyone have a great week and a great week of riding. Ride and Laugh.
I'll see you, everybody.